Yeah, this is gonna be fun. This is our first time off-site.
You have a world championship. Kind of talk about your journey a little bit.
If you know, like, hey, this is where I need to cut it, and this is where I need to trim it, like.
And that's probably a key ingredient that's catapulted your success on the social media platforms, right?
That skill set into the social and entrepreneurial journey, you can't make a living off of that enough to the point of like.
Not even close. I was bartending, serving, and working plumbing part-time while I was competing on the tour.
Vitamin Bar is one of your companies.
This is my first time publicly talking about it, actually, because I wanted to wait.
Breaking news right now.
Yeah, I wanted to like.
As someone who's now just really embraced it, what do you see for the future?
Growing a brand and selling it for $250,000, at least for me.
Well, welcome to Flip Your Friday. I'm your host, Wynn Silberman. This is my co-host, Casey LeBlanc. Casey, we have a very special guest today in Austin Keene. Austin, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on this sick boat.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. This is our first time off-site. Yeah, so we're gonna get out and do a little water, a little excitement, a little fun, do a little bit of a meeting, a little talk, and then let's get out on the water and do what you do.
Yeah. Austin, obviously, you have a world championship as a skimboarder. I want to dive into that, but before we do and kind of talk about your journey a little bit, because that's kind of interesting, being landlocked originally and still being a water guy. But first, I just wanted to say that oftentimes for me, I really don't I don't like the concept of influencers and TikTokers. It rubs me the wrong ways for a certain extent. But obviously, I've grown to have to kind of embrace it because it grows business. But you're like the first individual that I've ever seen where I found you in the wild, so to speak, and I followed you because I truly enjoyed your content. Like, you did sick shit.
Hell yeah.
And so for the first time, I was telling Casey, for the first time ever, through Instagram, I got super excited when we met at Nick's golf tournament to meet you, because I'm like, holy shit, this is the guy I've been following. He does sick shit, and it was just an interesting change of culture for me. I'm like, holy shit, well, maybe this is okay.
He kind of fangirled out a little bit.
I did. I got a little starstruck.
Well, I hate it. I remember when I've been in social media from the very beginning, and when that word influencer came out,
it's worse than a sports agent. It's a bad word.
God, dude, it's like I was already trying so hard in a niche sport to be the first guy to make a career out of it and really kind of come into that as hey, I'm an ambassador for these cool brands.
Yeah.
That was the best word I could come up with, is a brand ambassador. And then all these companies, when they finally started, which they didn't at first, when I first started approaching companies with hey, this is how many followers I have. In the very early days, they're like, oh, that's for kids. We're not getting a social, an Instagram.
What year are we talking about?
God, probably 2014, 15, something like that.
Yeah.
Or probably 2014. And which crazy is not even that long ago. And a lot of businesses weren't even thinking about Facebook. Sure. And I was like, you guys will. And thank God I knew that was going to happen, because I treated growing my social media like it was the main point of value I had. And fast forward, that really is what became my main value.
We just talked to you. You have close to 1 million followers. We always joke just under 1 million. But what other platforms are you on? What do you spend a lot of time on and for social media? And then also too, curious what you see as someone who's now just really embraced it. What do you see for the future? What are some of the platforms that you're kind of focused on?
For the future, I see growing a brand and selling it for $250,000, at least for me.
On what platforms do you?
But I would say right now my main platforms, I focus the most on Instagram.
Okay.
And then I have TikTok. I got $500,000 on that, and then YouTube, I got about 730K on that. And then one thing I have neglected that I do think still has a lot of traction is Facebook. I think they're actually doing a large overhaul on their video platforms, and it's just, there's so much, it's how do you focus, and then you have to kind of curate content, especially
Based
for
on
each
that
platform.
platform.
Yeah, and then YouTube, you got long form content, and then you have short form content. Now it's shorts. Personally, for me, it's I find myself paying the most attention to Instagram.
Yeah.
I think it's I kind of get locked in the the groove and the flow of like one platform, and I kind of like focus on that.
How old are you, just for reference?
I'm 35.
35. Okay, yeah, because it feels like different age groups, it kind of rotates, right? Like it used to be like Facebook, used to be for the older generation,
yeah,
then
that
our
was
generation
that's what I was thinking,
kind of fed
demographic.
it, came in, and it was like Instagram, and then the younger generation from that is like TikTok.
It seems
And
like
now it's kind of it's blurred, the lines are blurred. So now we're all doing.
Yeah, now it's just like if you're utilizing social media, it's like you kind of just it's across the board at this point. Like you said, it's very blurred. Like there's not, it's not as like polarizing of demographics on this platform to this platform. I mean, it definitely is some shift of like maybe younger people are on TikTok, or I mean, Snapchat has its own world now. Like I know a lot of creators that are doing well in that. That's just like a whole nother beast that I'm not willing to take on at this point. But especially for my style content, I think also kind of like figuring out what kind of content that you're creating, and then like, picking the platform that people engage with that content the most.
Yeah, it's tailored. It's tailored
Yeah.
to a certain vibe.
Yeah,
right?
so I just feel like for me, like I kind of look at my content as like almost like an online portfolio. That's kind of how I've always looked at it. And almost, I don't know, I just feel like Instagram kind of captures that the most.
Yeah.
And it's just changing so much though, I mean, like TikTok came out, took over the scene, and then Instagram had to start competing with that. They came out with Reels, and I mean, we get so like accustomed to like the new features, you forget that like Instagram Reels didn't even exist a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
So as someone who has this type of following, and it's a big part of your career at this point, and definitely your brand, do you have a team? Because I saw you just before, just off camera, you were doing it all yourself.
I'm doing it all myself.
So
yeah.
just 100% still.
That is insane.
Yeah, I have
then I have
4,000
really
followers,
good-
and I have somebody do it for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fortunate to work with like really good photographers and video guys on certain projects, and it takes a load off when like I have people that can maybe edit some stuff. But really, you gotta no one's gonna understand your audience more than you are. Right. So like if like, hey, this is where I need to cut it, and this is where I need to trim it, like. This is what's going to hook people.
And that's probably a key ingredient that's catapulted your success on the social media platforms,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and also just kind of, I'll do reposts every now and then, but even when I do reposts, I repost based on relevancy. Like, oh, this would be a good time to repost this. Yeah. Like I see a lot of people asking me about this video 2 years ago. Maybe I'll just repost it. Yeah. Because, as your following grows, there might be 400,000 people who haven't seen that video I posted 5 years ago.
Right.
So
yeah, and this delves into something else I want to just key off on. It's for our audience. A lot of times one of the common themes that Casey and I like to talk about is leadership, the concept of leadership and champions, like winning. And obviously you're a winner. And I just wanted you to quickly a little bit share with the audience your background of how you became a skimboarder. And I think it's relevant because it teaches the audience that you don't necessarily have to come from the ocean, for example, to excel at anything you do, excel at skimboarding. You're from Savannah, right?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on the...
You're landlocked, right?
Yeah, I grew up on the coast, Savannah, Georgia, and then I grew up surfing Tybee Island, and I actually lived in Indiana for 6 years. A lot of people don't even know.
There's not a lot of oceans there.
No, it was literally cornfields. Yeah. So thank God I moved back to Georgia. My parents decided to move back to Georgia because... otherwise, I'd probably be doing parkour or something, which is cool if that's what you do. It probably makes more money than skimboarding, honestly. But yeah, I just got really obsessed with surfing and action sports. Started skateboarding, caught my first wave, and then when I caught my first wave, it was just all. I played football in middle school. I played soccer when I was a kid, but like once I found surfing and action sports, that's really what I fell in love with, and. There was nothing like catching a wave, and then got into skimboarding as just something to do. I kind of got burnt out on surf contests when I was a kid because I didn't have that narrative like, oh, you could actually be a pro surfer.
Right.
So I was like, what am I even doing competing? I was super hot-headed when I was a kid, and like, I was this kid from Georgia going to these contests in North Carolina and stuff, and these kids all knew each other, and then like I'm going to freaking super ghetto middle school, getting in fights every year, and I'm just like. So I was a little hot-headed, and I was like, what am I even doing? This is dumb. It was making me like not like surfing as much. Yeah. So I just started surfing for fun, and I got into skimboarding as something to do when there was no waves because I lived in Georgia, which was very often. And then I met these guys that showed me like a VHS tape of what skimboarding was in Laguna Beach. And I was like, what?
You're like, yes.
I didn't even know. I was like,
That.
I didn't even know waves like that existed breaking like right on the beach, you know, like 6-foot shore break. I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. And so I just was like, started kind of finding my beaches that had shore break and going to Florida and just got really into it just for fun. And then I was like, when I caught like an actual wave on a skimboard, I just felt limitless. And I was like, I just knew I could be like, I could do whatever there was able to do on this board, I could do it.
You then, looks like you moved into foiling. Can you talk a little bit about that transition and when because that came out, what, maybe around 2010?
Foil technology has been around for a long time.
Can you explain what it is for those that maybe don't
Basically
know?
like a hydrofoil, it's like a wing that's flying the energy underwater, you know,
Yeah.
and whether that energy is created by just you, by pumping, or it's by a motor, or it's by...
Oh, so there's actually ones without a motor.
Yeah, I mean, that one is technically doesn't have a motor. I just put one on this foil drive product on it to allow me to like motor into a wave.
Wow.
But most of the foils, like, you know, racing sailboats are using foil technology now. I use it kiting. So kiting allows you to kite in less wind.
You kite surf. I mean, I'm always scared that if I ever tried that, I would catch some wind and just keep going.
Yeah, I
Does
mean,
that
that's what I
happen?
was
Like,
always worried
Do
about.
people crash into mountains? You know?
No, I
You
mean,
just let go.
it's just
Well,
like
you're connected though.
it's just like
Oh, are you?
checking.
I don't even know.
It's like checking the surf report, where it's like you're not going to go out on a 10-foot day if you don't know what you're.
Yeah, we know about that.
Or maybe you will.
We took this boat out in a weather advisory and just forgot to watch the small craft
We did.
weather
Oh,
advisory, and
no.
so we're in these fucking swells like Forrest Gump, and so we come back, park the boat, and everyone around the dock comes out and they're like, "Tell me you just didn't get back from that fucking from the water." And we're like,
we went all the way to the Coronado Islands. It wasn't a good day to do that.
No.
and then we jump in the shark infested water, and they're like, "Are you fucking?"
Where's that at?
It's just about an hour and a half outside. Once we pull out, we'll show you.
Yeah, we'll show you.
Yeah, you can point. We'll point to.
It's
We're
in
not going.
Mexico. It's in Mexico.
Don't have me foil in that.
No, don't worry. There's no sharks where you're foiling.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, we're gonna do a little bit of that. And this is gonna be one of those podcasts where it's gonna be a little bit of talking, a lot of water, and a lot of fun. But I want to talk.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk all day about
No,
that.
but I think that one of the interesting things I want to touch on is how you go from skim to foil to entrepreneur. So you build a brand, and now getting into entrepreneurial endeavors, right? So you figure out how to make money on all of this stuff. Walk me through what that process was like.
I mean, I think I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. I think that's the only reason I was able to make a career out of skimboarding in the first place, and nobody else was really doing it. And I saw a path to that through social media and creating that audience, and actually got a lot of like flack in my community for doing it. And then now those same guys that were hating on it are all doing it, you know?
Are a lot of people doing it now?
Yeah. I mean, if you're not doing it, you're just...
It's not
Wasting
unlike the
opportunity.
music industry is now actually, you don't necessarily make a lot of music as an artist, but if you can build your presence.
You mean
and your-
money? Make
and
a
your-
lot of money?
Yeah, and then I just
Through
realized...
music.
If you build your social currency, though, through music, you don't make a lot of money. But if you build your social currency, which these days is through how many followers you have, you can align that with a brand and grow business.
You're right. Well, actually, a lot of musicians too. They're making their money on the shows,
That's
right?
what they're doing.
Is there something like that with? What
No, I
you're
mean,
doing,
we had a
like
tour,
shows?
which I won, and then that's when I realized, like, okay, I checked off, like, just for my own pride and satisfaction of, like, I did want to prove to myself I could be the best at something in the world, so there was, like, that piece of it.
Was that a global competition? Were you competing against literally, like, who is considered, like,
There's
the
I mean,
top
some of the best
country?
skimboarders in the world right now are from Brazil and Mexico.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, it's,
So would you be comfortable in saying you are the best in the world?
not on a competitive level anymore because I'm not training for that anymore.
At one point, though, you would. I mean, obviously, you were anointed the champion.
Yeah, I mean, I was head to head with the guy I had
I mean, to be
won
the best in
over and
anything.
over. I was the first guy out of Laguna Beach to win the tour
And how long ago was that?
and to win the VIC contest, which is the World Championships like single contest in Laguna Beach, which has been held by Laguna guys since for 40 years.
If you were to take strip out all the entrepreneurial things and just if somebody who's just passionate about that, you said
I'd still be plumbing and bartending private parties.
that was my question, right? Like, so you can't unless you're actually going to leverage that skill set into the social and entrepreneurial journey. You can't make a living off of that enough to the point of like.
Not even close. No,
Okay.
I was bartending, serving, and working plumbing part time while I was competing on the tour.
No shit. Okay.
How was the level of your happiness at that point, though?
I was happy, you know. I was like, at the time, I was living in, you know, Georgia kid living in Dana Point, California, right next to Laguna. I'm getting to go skim in the day, and I work in the evening, and like I was happy during that for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm always tired of like a car breaking down, and I wanted to make more money.
Yeah.
And once I kind of checked those things off the list, it was like, okay, like it took me a while to be honest, like with myself, like I wanted to make a shit ton of money, because I always felt like that was materialistic and this and that. But now I've been okay to be like, no, I want to make a shit ton of money, but I want to do it in a way that I'm proud of, in a way that kind of seamlessly transitions my journey as an action sports athlete into whatever venture that is.
Well, let's talk about one of the ventures. This is, for those that are just listening, Vitamin Bar is one of your companies. Talk about us, what that journey has been like, what it is, where people can find it, what your role is. Give us some ideas what we're looking
I'm a
at.
co-founder, investor in Vitamin Bar. I had a guy actually from Georgia who we kind of knew of each other in middle school, and he randomly hit me up back in 2019, right before COVID, and told me about this product. Coincidentally, at the same time, I was already looking to start my own product, and he brought this and already had the packaged version like ready to go. He's like, I want to launch this thing. He's like, I'd love to have you on board. So we kind of we've refined the product like 5 times since then. And with my network through actually wake surfing, I got into wake surfing after the World Championship as like a new, like whole new journey of action sports. I've been able to connect with a lot of great people and connect with a really good investor for this.
Where can they find it?
Online.
Okay.
And if you're ever in a Discovery property, golfing.
Discovery probably as a
Yeah,
real estate guy.
Yeah.
So we're in all those. We're doing a Kroger launch here soon, hopefully in Walmart by early next year.
Wow.
So we're just kind of playing it strategically. Like all the projects I've done have been like pretty bootstrapped. I started a cold plunge studio with like 27 grand basically, and grew that, put a lot more money into it down the road, but
Reinvested.
And then we grew that. It's very successful in Dana Point. And
Well, you said something interesting one time when we were talking about this this bar, and I thought it was pretty intriguing. Your concept was, all you need is a little bit of market share.
yeah,
Market share is important in products like this, because then you can win. You just need to
that's what
show
I'm-
your competitors that you can grab market, and you'll get bought
Yeah,
up.
something
You'll
we
get eaten
can-
up. No pun intended.
something we can be proud of. Zach and I, Zach, who kind of initially developed the product, and myself, who we've kind of massaged it to be where it is now. It's a product that we're proud of. It's like healthy. It's something that we would consume. 15 superfoods, very clean macros, low sugar, all the stuff we believe in. No seed oils, no bullshit. So yeah.
Well, and that's the rage right now, right? So you're in a good position with a good product at the right time,
timing.
with Kennedy coming in and pushing for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
You guys might be perfectly.
I would like to
timed.
hear some more no seed oil stuff from him though.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, before we get going, I want to talk to. There's one more product coming out that I thought was really interesting.
for sure.
Is it Marsh Water?
Yeah, I mean, this is
I like that idea.
This is my first time publicly talking about it, actually, because I wanted
so
to
we're
wait.
breaking news right now.
Yeah. I wanted to kind of make sure I had the business, the trademark, everything locked in, because ultimately I couldn't believe that nobody took the name Marshwater. Being from the South, like that's one thing I've always said I miss the most about the Southeast is the marsh. It's like it's nothing geographically. There's nothing like that in the United States. It's like of coastal Georgia and South Carolina, and like everybody's lives just revolve around that. Whether it's shrimp boats, just going out on your boat, enjoying the weekend, tying up on a sandbar, like it's just all about coastal, low country lifestyle. And I realized I had this like hard iced tea recently, and I'm like, damn, kind of think this is going to make a comeback, like the whole hard iced tea category. And I was like, what if there's like a cool product you can make? And then like, I don't even remember the order it happened, but that name just popped in my head. I'm like, holy shit, nobody has really marketed a beverage or branded a beverage for the people of the Southeast low country community. I was like, and then Marshwater came in my head. And I was like, that's got to be taken. And I did like a quick trademark search, and I was like, no, it's got to be taken. I hit up my lawyer, and he did a search. He's like, he's an Atlanta guy too, and he's like, damn, that's like a good name. He's like, there's all these other waters, ranch water, cut water, all these different waters, and it wasn't taken. So I was like, all right, I'm doing this.
Yeah,
and
it's
like
great.
one thing I've learned is like if you have an idea, you gotta freaking
You gotta
Move.
action.
you gotta move.
Yeah,
man.
you got to move and
'Cause
then
that-
be comfortable pivoting.
And
right?
as you know, like the universe will give you little
Yeah.
little nuggets. People are always wondering like, when's my break gonna come? Or it's like the universe is constantly handing us little signs in life, and we're just it's whether or not you're gonna be receptive to it.
Right.
I mean,
You
it
gotta
might
get-
even
and
just
you got to
be-
get in the game
Yeah.
to be able to get those signs
Sometimes-
and actually do something
You
with
create
it.
your own luck. There's no such thing as luck.
And-
Well, maybe. For some people there is.
Well, like
we have very different variants of opinion on a couple of things. That's for another podcast.
no, I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, no, but it's true. Like, and I think one of the things is like we differ in some of our outlook on certain things
And approach.
approach on that's a good word for it. Some of it is on how effectively to work. Mine is very much like discipline and hard work and powering through a lot of things. And Wynn is I don't want to speak for you.
I'm
what
always
would yours be?
available. My point is I'm available. I don't have a set schedule, but my biggest gift is the ability to connect with people.
Yeah, yeah.
And that
Yeah.
tends to grow business. And here's a perfect example. The way I met you was through the founder of Zappos, who also owns some of the Golden State Warriors at a golf tournament. I met him years ago. For me, sports has really opened a lot of doors.
Yeah.
And that happens to put me in a position to make a lot of deals, and it's been great.
I mean, it's kind of like where I'm at, just connecting and making good relationships with people. And if you have something that is a good product, then, you know, just like I want to help other people, like people want to help you, and just kind of connect dots, you know? That's
Well,
what
you
it's
guys
about.
are gifted. I'm on the other side of it, where I went to a stupid state school, got a 2.4 GPA, and so I just have to show up every day and work really hard. Yeah, I don't.
This guy had a whisper with the Niners. I mean, the guy's an elite athlete, and he's done very well for himself.
That was a long time ago. But so what we want to do today is we're going to get out on the water. We're going to do more of this podcast on the water.
Yeah,
So let's
yeah.
get. It's fucking 75 degrees out.
Yeah, let's get out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's fun.
Fucking
Get
thing
some
on the
breeze
water
going.
and keep talking and do some fucking water
Sounds
action.
great. Sounds
Okay,
great.
cool. Awesome.
To be continued.
To be continued. Exactly.
All right, cool.
All right, cool.
Okay, segment 2. What did we just see? Walk us
Some good old foil and hydrofoiling, man.
and the difference between boiling and hydrofoiling. What is that?
It's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when we saw you kind of going up and down, there's no motor on this, correct?
There's a motor at the top. This is like kind of a unique setup. So there's this new product called the foil drive, and that just allows you to get up and riding in flat water. And then once you get on lift, the motor comes out of the water. Compared to a standard e-foil, the motor would be stuck near the wing, creating a lot of drag. So you couldn't really surf a wave. You'd have to stay on the gas.
Got it.
So this is just like a little assist motor, which was really beneficial for today because we don't have to have a wakeboard rope attached to a big yacht.
Yeah.
So I was able to just kind of get up, find that second wave.
So what creates the energy? Just this? I mean, just the.
Yeah, just the wing. So the wing is basically flying the energy underwater. Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
And there's different types of wings for efficiency, slower speed, higher speed, more carvability. It's kind of like balancing for what you need in that certain condition. I used a high aspect wing today. This is a Axis foil setup. They're really, really good at the high aspect foil setups because downwind, you want something that can keep up with a lot of speed,
Okay.
cut through the chop like today.
So explain for like a guy like Wynn, not very athletic, how would he go about getting up? He couldn't get up on something like this. You said this is for advanced, but because you made it look super simple.
Yeah, the
where you're
best
just
way
like,
to learn is having like a really stable wing setup and then either doing it behind a boat or a jet ski with a long line, or an e-foil is the best way. Those are pretty expensive, but if you have somebody that has an e-foil or you can rent one or take lessons, that's the easiest way to learn how to feel that initial feeling of foiling, and then you can kind of expand from there.
Got it.
Yeah.
You were talking about, because I was asking how long do you think you could foil like in one session, and you were telling me that like the world record.
Yeah, I wish I knew his name off the top of my head, but I just saw it on Instagram. He set a record 6.5 hours.
6.5 hours.
Downwind, no motor, just downwind, open ocean. 96 miles.
What we just saw was about, I don't know, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So you did 15 minutes. How tiring was that?
The only tiring part is when I would get out of the wake and I need to pump with my own energy
To get it back.
to get back into that third wave. So I was going further back, so I pumped away. And then, so now I'm utilizing my own energy to keep that foil on lift. And then that can kind of gas you. You can get really big wings where you, in flat water, you could just do that forever. But with a bigger wing, you lose maneuverability. So I wouldn't be able to do any turning at all.
Yeah, because you were truly cutting it up a little bit.
Yeah.
It looked like you had a motor,
Yeah,
right? Like that's what you made it look like. Yeah.
It's just flying, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome. So from a driving perspective, because from behind the scenes, you were talking about a certain speed. And
Yeah.
what were some of the things you were looking for before you jumped in the water, so you could tell someone, our captain has never done that before, so you were kind of looking for a certain speed. Tell us what you were looking for.
Like looking at where the wave, like what speed the wave was kind of lifting up and just kind of staying with itself and not just like, I don't know, if it gets too fast, this foil won't keep up.
Got it.
So you need to have like that. I was just kind of looking at the wave at what speed I could kind of keep up with it.
Was there a reason that you went second and third?
Yeah, it's just fun to get like,
show different.
yeah, the further back you get, it's just really
gliding.
dead.
It's just you.
It's quiet back there.
Okay.
So it's just, and also like the second or third wave back, there's a little bit more space to kind of play around with on the wave. It's a little bit more of a softer transition. So it's more fun back there.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
That's sick.
Yeah.
On the first wave, usually when I do like the backflip stuff, I'll be on like the first wave because it's got a little bit more of an extreme lip on the wave.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you more launch if you're going to try to do a backflip or something. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. That was awesome. Thanks,
Thank you
brother.
very much, man.
My favorite's the ocean. I mean, you can catch waves before like,
It's also unpredictable, so it challenges you, right?
yeah, but it's also, you can catch these waves. Like it's opened up a whole new dimension of surfing for me because I can catch waves 300 yards before they've even started breaking.
Oh,
I'm just-
and then just
I'm just
cruise
carving
into it.
swells before they even break. Once they start breaking, I'm just like kicking out. I'm just utilizing the unbroken wave.
So you can even go to Makaha where it's territorial for surfers because you won't even really get into their wave.
Yeah, as long as you're not, I mean, as long as you're staying very clear of that,
Yeah.
you might be all right. But as long as there's a swell, you can ride it on a foil, man.
That's cool.
And even small waves, like bigger wing, allows you to have efficiency and less moment, like less energy. So you can ride anything from like a half a foot, or you could literally pump in a pool if you wanted to. A lot of guys do dock starts, so you can run off a dock and pump. Yeah. That'll get you tired for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No shit. Right. Yeah.
Fun.
That's fun. That's awesome.
Shit. That is a well. Listen, that's
Oh,
kind of
word.
yeah. We need to.
Segment two's cut.
We're having we're having a lot of fun here, Austin. We just wanted to thank you very much for joining our podcast.
Yeah.
And Casey, I think that's another wrap. So thank you very much,
Thank you
audience.
guys
I
for
hope you
having me.
enjoyed it. Absolutely.
Hey, flip your Friday.
That's right, baby. All right, that's a wrap.